disciples, and we also had Jyotsna, who is the city news editor. So we'll be asking you questions in turn. We'll be taking turns to ask you questions. So the first question is, you're running a people-powered campaign to take the Senate back for Democrats. And right now, you're running neck and neck with your opponent, Senator Kelly Loeffler. So do you have enough grassroots support to flip the district blue?
Thank you so much. Indeed, we are running a people-centered and people-powered campaign. Mm-hmm. This is an extension of the work that I've been doing for years. I've served at Ebenezer Baptist Church for the last 15 years. Mm-hmm. Where I've been focused on the people's issues: healthcare reform, voting rights, and the dignity of work. And we're building a strong movement that will indeed flip this state. I'm excited and encouraged by what we're seeing on the ground.
You are the fifth senior pastor of Ebenezer in its 134-year history. So why did you choose to run for office, and do you plan to incorporate any of King's principles in your policy making?
So I'm a first-time candidate, but I have to tell you, I don't feel like I launched a campaign in January as much as I extended that I've been on for years. Namely, this idea that healthcare is a human right, and it is certainly something the richest and most powerful nation on earth can and ought to provide to its citizens. The dignity of work, voting rights. This is work that I've done from the pulpit of Ebenezer Baptist Church, where we built a one-stop shop of wraparound services for ordinary people, a job center located there, folks helping people start small businesses, connecting to the services that they've needed. We've been very active as a church in the work of registering voters and educating voters, and addressing the huge disparities in our criminal justice system. And so the launch into public office is just an opportunity for me to translate my activism and agitation into legislation, my protest into public policy. It doesn't feel like a huge leap for me as much as it seems like one more step in my ongoing project to do all I can to foster a more inclusive, much as it seems like one more step in my ongoing project to do all I can to foster a more inclusive and justice-centered Georgia.
Dr. King was deeply influenced by Gandhi's principles of nonviolent social change. So are Gandhian principles still relevant today, especially in the time of the Black Lives Matter movement?
Oh, absolutely. Gandhian principles are relevant and much needed. We're in a moment in America where division and hatred and violence have become all too common in our politics and in our public life together. We have a crop of leaders right now. We have a crop of folks who are in office, at least. I don't know that they're leaders, who don't know how to lead us, and so they try to divide us. They seem to be more adept at division than vision. And so we need, in this moral moment, moral leaders who will remind us of who we are for one another. The great American covenant is e pluribus unum, out of many one. The sense that our diversity is our strength, and we want to affirm it and celebrate it in every way. So I will continue to lift up Gandhian principles of nonviolence. And the good news in the wake of these tragic flashpoints that we saw this past summer, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, so many others, that's the bad news. The good news is that we saw a multiracial, multi-generational, multi-faith coalition of conscience pour out into American streets, responding to one virus while masking up to protect themselves from another virus. I'm encouraged that the protests we've seen, contrary to what detractors are trying to suggest, have been overwhelmingly nonviolent and disciplined and well organized. And now I think we're seeing that same passion channeled into voting as people march now onto the polls. And this is this is very encouraging, and I think it is an important path towards constructive change.
But what's your take on police reform? Do we need reform to reform the police?
Absolutely, we need police reform. We should not be talking about defunding the police. That's not the route that we need to go. But we do need police reform, and we need criminal justice reform.
You are one of the 20 candidates running in Georgia's 2020 Senate special election. If you win, you will be the first Democratic senator elected from Georgia in 2 decades and the first African American senator from Georgia ever. What does your win mean in a broader spectrum of things?
I think when I think about my own story, it is one with the American story. This is the land of opportunity and possibility. We don't always live up to that ideal, but there's always been a path in America for working through the gaps and helping us to grow taller to reach that ideal. I'm a person who grew up as a kid in public housing down in Savannah, Georgia. One of 12 children in my family. I'm the first college graduate. I'm the product of Pell Grants and low-interest student loans, the ways in which we've used government to try to give ordinary people a chance. And so my election to the Senate would be one more indication that the American dream is very much alive. That in this country, no matter where you're from and how you got started, you can go somewhere else. So I'd be deeply honored to represent the people of Georgia in the U.S. Senate, and I'd work hard every day to make sure that kids like me, and when I say kids like me, I mean not just, the poor black kid in the public housing of Savannah, Georgia, but poor rural white kids and disaffected rural communities in North Georgia have an opportunity. That members of the South Asian community and our Latinx sisters and brothers know that they too have a share in the American dream. It's when there is a path for all of our children that we create the best Georgia and the best country that we can.
Are you satisfied with the way Georgia has responded to the coronavirus pandemic?
Oh, no, not at all. I think that the citizens of Georgia have proven to be courageous, valiant, and are to be commended for their response overall. But there is a severe leadership vacuum at state level and the national level. Months into this pandemic, we've yet to see a coordinated response. We need to take this seriously. People are dying. And in many instances, the deaths are totally unnecessary, and we need leadership. And so I'm proud to offer myself up for the United States Senate.
So you have fought for Medicaid expansion and pushed back against proposed cuts to children's health care programs. So what are your priorities with health care?
Number one, we need to expand Medicaid in the state. That is an issue decided at the state level. So I think that there are things that a United States senator can do to make it even easier than it already is for Georgia to expand Medicaid. I was down in Southwest Georgia this past weekend, not far from the Southwest Georgia Regional Medical Center, which is slated to close in a matter of weeks. We've had 7 hospitals close in our state in the last decade. 2 more announced that they're going to close. And they're closing in large measure because we've refused to expand Medicaid. And by refusing to expand Medicaid, it isn't as if the citizens of Georgia are going to get a refund on their federal income tax. No, we're just subsidizing health care in other states like Illinois, New York, California, while our hospitals are closing. This imperils not just poor people who need Medicaid, but anybody in that region who needs to get to a doctor in time. So I intend to stand up for health care. I believe that health care is a human right. I intend to fight to reduce the cost of prescription drugs and to make sure that Big Pharma has to negotiate their price. After all, we believe in the free market system in this country. And I intend to make sure that we do not raise the age for eligibility for Medicare, and that we make sure that young people can indeed continue to stay on their parents' income until age 26. Healthcare is a human right. We shouldn't be getting rid of the Affordable Care Act in the middle of a pandemic. We should be looking for every way to strengthen it and extend it.
One final question. More and more Indians who have never been politically active are coming out to support you. So what do you know about the Indian community, and why should the community vote for you?
Well, I've spent my whole career trying to bring people together.
Mm-hmm.
I have great respect, love, and appreciation for the Asian community, for my Indian American sisters and brothers. And every time I've tried to do work that matters in the state, whether it's voting rights or health care, I've always been very intentional about building multiracial, multi-ethnic coalitions in order to do so. And so I've been very outspoken on bigotry, against bigotry, wherever it has reared its ugly head. We're seeing that in recent days, even at the highest levels of our government, as people try to politicize the pandemic and then attaching to it a kind of stigma against Asian people in general. We can't stand for this. We have to stand up for one another. I've done that my whole career as a citizen. I would make sure that these communities are being protected in terms of the public policy we would pass in the United States Senate.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Reverend Warnock. Thank you for talking to us.
Great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.